Welcome to Poetry with Tanya, where we break down poems simply, clearly, and meaningfully. Before we begin, just a quick note: you might hear some background noises, some drilling, some sound of the fan. Uh, Thank you for bearing that. Today, we're going to study Porphyria's Lover by Robert Browning. Now, I'll just say this at the beginning. This is actually one of my favorite poems because how psychologically complex and unsettling it is. Before we begin, let's understand the poet and the literary context. Robert Browning was a Victorian poet writing during the 19th century under the Queen Victoria's reign. This was a major social, industrial, and scientific change. Victorian poets were deeply interested in human psychology, morality, social expectations in a conflict, unlike romantic poets who focused more on nature and emotion. Victorian poets often explored darker and more complex sides of human behavior. One of Robert Browning's most important contributions is the dramatic monologue. Now, a dramatic monologue is a poem where a single speaker talks to a silent listener, and through it, this speech he reveals a personality, often unintentionally. The speaker is not always reliable, which means as readers we must question what is being said. Porphyria's lover is a perfect example of this. Now let's begin the poem line by line. The rain set early into the night. The sullen wind was soon awake. Now this poem opens with a storm. Pathetic fallacy can be noticed here. The weather it reflects emotional tension. Words like rain, sullen wind, they create uneasiness, heaviness, instability. It tore the elm tops for spite and did its worst to vex the lake. Now the wind is personified as violent and aggressive. Tore, vex. This suggests anger. This mirrors the speaker's disturbed inner state. I listened with heart fit to break. Now the speaker is emotionally distressed. The tone is melancholic, the tone is tense. When glided in Porphyria straight, she shut the cold out and the storm. Porphyria, she enters suddenly. Glided, it suggests grace, calmness. She immediately takes control of the environment and kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up and all the cottage warm. She lights the fire and brings warmth. She is active, she is nurturing and in control. Which done, she rose from her form, withdrew withdrew the dripping cloak and shawl. She removes her wet clothes. There is a sense of intimacy and laid her soiled gloves by, untied her hat, and let the damp hair fall. Her hair becomes important. It symbolizes beauty, sensuality, and you'll see later control. At last, she sat down by my side and called me when no voice replied. She tries to connect with him. She tries to start a conversation. He, on the other hand, remains silent and passive. She put my arm about her waist and, and made her smooth white shoulders bare. She initiates closeness. She is in control at this stage, and all her yellow hair displaced and stooping made my cheek lie there. She physically guides him. The image is intimate. The imagery is intimate and tender. And spread over all her yellow hair. Her hair surrounds. Symbolically, she envelopes it, murmuring how she loved. She too weak for all her arts and depth. She expresses love, but he calls her too weak. This shows he believes her love is incomplete. To set its struggling passions free from pride and vainer ties dissever, and give herself to me forever. This is a crucial idea. He wants total and permanent possession of her. But passion sometimes would prevail, nor could tonight's gay feast restrain a sudden thought of one so pale, for love of her and all in rare. He reflects on her situation. She has come to him despite social obligations. Yet, in his mind, this is still not enough. She has probably left a gay feast, a social event behind to meet him. So, in a way, we can say that she has done her bit to prove that she actually loves him. But to him, this is not enough. So she was come through wind and rain. This line confirms her effort. She has braved the storm to reach him. Objectively, her love is strong, but he still feels dissatisfied. Be sure I looked up at her eyes, happy and proud. At last I knew. Porphyria worshipped me. This is a turning point. He interprets her expression as worship. But this is his perception, not necessarily reality. This reveals his ego, his need for control. Surprise made my heart swell, and still it grew while I debated what to do. Now comes the psychological shift. He pauses, he thinks. This is a decision, not impulse. That moment she was mine, mine fair, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair. This is the most important moment in this poem. That moment she was mine. He believes he has complete possession. Mine, mine. Repetition shows obsession and intensity, perfectly pure and good. He idealizes her. He wants to freeze this moment forever. I found a thing to do. Now this is chilling. He decided he decides to act to preserve this moment permanently. And all her hair in one long yellow string I wound 3 times her little throat around. Her hair once a symbol of beauty and intimacy, now have become an instrument of control. This is symbolism. Okay, love becomes possession, beauty becomes a violence, and strangle her. No pain felt she. I am quite sure she felt no pain. Immediately, he justifies his action. He shows denial, self deception, and it shows unreliable narration. As a shut bird that holds a bee, I verily opened her lids again, laughed the blue eyes without a strain. This is simile, shut bud. He presents death as peaceful and natural. This is deeply disturbing. He imagines her still alive, and I tightened next the trees around her neck, her cheeks once more, blushed bright beneath my burning kiss. He loosens her hair and kisses her, blushed, is imagined. This shows illusion, refusal to accept reality. I propped her head up as before, only this time my shoulder bore her head, which droops upon it still. He arranges her body carefully. He tries to recreate a perfect moment. The smiling, rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will, that all it scorned at once is fled, and I, its love, am gained instead. These lines are extremely. He imagines her as smiling, glad. This is completely delusional. So glad it has its utmost will. Right? In the previous lines, let me show you. So glad it has its utmost will. He believed that he has fulfilled her deepest desire, that it scorned at once is fled. All social barriers are gone. And I, at its love, am gained instead. He sees himself as an ultimate reward. This shows total psychological distortion. Porphyria's love. Porphyria's love, she guessed not how her darling one wish be heard. He believes he fulfilled her one wish. But this is entirely his projection, not reality. And thus we sit together now, and all night long we have not stirred. He describes the scene as peaceful and still. This creates an eerie calm. And yet God has not said a word. This final line is deeply unsettling. He interprets silence as approval. Possible interpretations that he believes he is justified, or he expects punishment, but nothing comes. Or Browning is showing a moral ambiguity. Okay? So the poem ends without resolution. The speaker believes he has preserved perfect love, but in reality, he has destroyed it completely. Now that we have gone through the entire poem, let's step back and understand what Browning is really doing here. Okay, let's first talk about the tone. The tone of the poem is deeply complex. It begins as tense and melancholic, then shifts into something that appears intimate and romantic. But by the end, it becomes unsettling, eerie, and psychologically disturbing. What makes the tone particularly powerful is that the speaker himself remains calm throughout. There is no dramatic outburst. Even after committing murder, his voice stays controlled and composed. This contrast between calm narration and violent action creates a chilling effect. Now, the mood of the poem moves from dark and stormy to strangely peaceful. But this peace is uncomfortable. It is not genuine peace, it is a forced stillness. As readers, we feel a sense of unease. because we recognize the gap between what the speaker believes and what actually happened. Now let's look at some important poetic devices. The most important poetic device we discussed earlier on, which is dramatic monologues. We only hear the speaker's voice, and through that we begin to understand his psychology. Browning never directly tells us that the speaker is unstable. He m- makes us realize it ourselves. There is a strong use of pathetic fallacy at the beginning, where the storm reflects the emotional tension. Symbolism is very important as well, especially the use of hair, which moves from being a symbol of beauty and intimacy to a tool of control and violence. Irony runs throughout the poem. The speaker believes that he has preserved love, but in reality, he has destroyed it. He believes Porphyria is happy and glad, while we as readers understand that this is an illusion. Now, the themes. One of the central themes is love as possession. The speaker does not want a relationship. He wants complete control. For him, love is only perfect when it is fixed, permanent, and unchanging. Another theme is power and control. The shift in the poem is very important. Porphyria begins as the active, controlling figure, but by the end, the speaker takes absolute control in the most extreme way possible. We also see the theme of madness and obsession. The speaker's reasoning seems logical to him, but it reveals deep psychological instability. And finally, illusion versus reality. The speaker lives in a version of reality that has that he has constructed for himself. He believes everything is perfect, while the truth is far more disturbing. So, what makes the poem powerful is not just the story, but the way it is told. Browning forces us to enter the mind of the speaker, and in doing so, we slowly realize the gap between perception and reality. The speaker believes he has preserved a perfect moment of love, but in reality, he has destroyed it. And that is what makes Porphyria's Lover such a haunting and unforgettable poem. If this helped you understand the poem better, subscribe for more clear and detailed poetry explanations. Thank you.